Hello and welcome to the video tutorial for SEO Ultimate. I'm John Lemansky, developer of SEO Ultimate, and I'll be giving you a detailed tour of the many features of this all-in-one WordPress SEO plugin. This tutorial assumes that you have already installed SEO Ultimate from the Add New section of the Plugins menu on your WordPress administration interface and have activated the plugin. Once you do activate the plugin, you'll notice the SEO menu that appears on your WordPress admin menu. Clicking the SEO menu will take you to the Module Manager. The Module Manager is the control center for SEO Ultimate's many features. Those features are broken into groups called modules, and each module can be enabled, silenced, hidden, or disabled. On a fresh installation of SEO Ultimate, most modules will be enabled. There are a few exceptions, though. The Meta Keywords Editor and the NoFollow Manager are disabled by default, since meta keywords and no-followed links are rather old-school SEO features that probably won't help you, but the features are there if you do want them. Some modules have an option to put them on silenced status. Modules with this option may occasionally display numeric bubble alerts in your WordPress admin menu. For example, the Settings Monitor will let you know if there are settings needing your attention. And so therefore it has a silenced option because it's capable of displaying those alerts. But if you don't want those alerts appearing on your menu, you can just click silenced and then click Save Changes and they'll go away. Other modules have the hidden option. The modules that have this option are on the SEO menu. You can click the hidden option to hide a module from the menu. This is useful in cases where you've configured a module to your liking, but you want to keep its functionality, so you don't want to disable it, but you just want to remove it from the menu to make the menu less cluttered. When you click Hidden and then click Save Changes, then the item will disappear from the menu. To get to the administration screen, you can come back to the Module Manager and click the module's name, and that will take you to the module's administration page even though it's not listed on the menu. So you can still access the administration pages of hidden modules, it just takes a few extra clicks. If you disable a module, then not only can you not access its administration page, but all of its functionality will be disabled. So if you want to disable certain features of SEO Ultimate because you don't want to use them for whatever reason, then you can mark that module as disabled in the Module Manager and click Save Changes. I'd also like to draw your attention to the Help tab at the top portion of the screen here. When you click the Help tab, it pulls down a panel that displays documentation for the module you're currently on. In the case of the Module Manager, it'll tell you mostly what I just told you, except in writing. These help panels will have multiple tabs, so be sure to check out all the documentation if you are in need of it. Now we'll go to the first module on the SEO menu, the 404 Monitor. I've generated a few sample 404 errors for us to work with. A 404 error is generated when a visitor or search engine tries to visit a page on your site that doesn't exist. 404 Monitor will log those errors and display them on a list on its administration page. The module will show you what page the visitor or search engine tried to access, how many times someone tried to access it, that's the hits column, and when the visitor or search engine most recently tried to access this URL. That's the date of most recent hit column. Also, SEO Ultimate will keep track of the referrers and the user agents. Referrers are the URLs that send people or search engine bots to this URL. You can use this information to try to track down broken links on your site or other sites. To view the referrers list, just click this little scroll icon for the row, and then it'll show you a list. So in this example, I generated this 404 error through a broken link on the home page. And for this one, I generated it through a broken link on the Hello World post. You can just click the icons again to hide the list. 404 Monitor also keeps track of the user agents. User agents are the software programs that access the URLs, which could include web browsers like Firefox, Safari, Chrome, Internet Explorer, etc., or search engine spiders like Googlebot. You can click the list to see which user agents have tried to access this URL. So as you can see, I tried to access this URL with Firefox. If you've resolved all these 404 errors by using a redirection plugin to point those URLs to the right place, or if you've decided that you don't need to resolve these 404s, you can click the Clear Log button to clear the list. You can also click on the Screen Options tab up on top and hide columns as desired. Now we'll go to the Settings tab. The first checkbox is Continue Monitoring for New 404 Errors. If you would like 404 Monitor to keep the 404s it already has but stop collecting new ones, then you can clear this checkbox. By default, 404 Monitor only logs the important 404s, that is, the errors that are generated by search engine spiders and the ones that are generated by referring URLs, because those often, but not always, indicate broken links. Now, if you really want to, you could have 404 Monitor log all 404s, not just these important ones, by unchecking this box. But, however, I'd recommend against doing that because you'll probably be inundated with 404 errors that you really don't need to worry about. So I would suggest just leaving it as is. You can also change the maximum number of log entries that 404 Monitor will retain. The default is 100, but you can change this if desired. If 404 Monitor has the maximum number of log entries in its log, and it records a new one, then it'll just discard the oldest one so it can keep it at that total. The URLs to ignore text box lets you stop 404 Monitor from recording errors at certain URLs. There are 4 defaults included. The top 2 are URLs that are generated when a user agent is trying to locate an icon for the website. You really do not need to worry about those 404s. The bottom 2 are often generated when spammers are trying to submit comments on your site. So that's why those are there. And you can add more if you want, and you can use asterisks as wildcards. Let's go to the next module, Code Inserter. We'll confirm that we want to leave this module page without saving our changes, and we'll be taken to the Code Inserter Administration interface. Sometimes you may find yourself wanting to add code to various parts of your site for SEO reasons. For example, you might want to add code to your head tag to enable an analytics service, or you might want to add some kind of social media button to the bottom of your posts. So you can just post the HTML code, including JavaScript, into these boxes and it'll insert it into the proper place. The beauty of doing this with Code Inserter, rather than editing your theme, is that the code will stay intact even if you were to change your theme or upgrade it. Whereas if you edit your theme directly, then you have to remember to make those changes again if you activate a different theme, and also you have to remember to back it up if you were to upgrade your theme, or else your changes would be overwritten. But with Code Inserter, you don't have to worry about that. Next, we'll go to Deep Link Juggernaut. Deep Link Juggernaut allows for 2 types of automatic hyperlinking, content links and footer links. Content linking means that Deep Link Juggernaut will search through all of your post content and find a particular phrase that you specify and link it to a URL or item on your site that you specify. You see, anchor text, that is the blue hyperlinked text that comprises a link, is used by search engines to determine the topicality of the pages that you link to. So, when you link to a particular article on your site with a certain phrase, then you are telling search engines that that phrase describes the article you're linking to. For example, let's say that I have a post called Hello World, and the keyword that I want this to rank for is hello. Of course, this is just for the sake of example. I can click Save Changes, and once I do that, then SEO Ultimate will find all instances of the word hello in all the posts I've ever written and link it to this post. Now notice that I did not even have to paste in a URL into this destination box. Unlike other plugins, SEO Ultimate comes with an advanced autocomplete function that lets you type in the name of whatever you want to link to and then select it from a drop-down. Not only does this work with posts, but it works with pages. For example, I can link to the sample About page. Or it works with categories, so I can do, like, say, the uncategorized category. Not that I'd ever actually want to link to the uncategorized category, because that's not a very keyword-rich category name. You can also do the blog homepage, you can do author archive pages, you can do tags, custom taxonomies, custom post types, post format archives, I mean the whole shebang. So if you type something in here, then you should be able to click it from the list. Also, the title attribute box lets you customize the tooltip that appears when someone hovers over the link. The nofollow checkbox will let you apply the nofollow attribute to the link. This is useful for in cases where you're creating auto-linked paid affiliate hyperlinks. So you'll want the nofollow option for those types of links. And the new window lets you assign the target blank attribute to links so that they pop open in a new window. So once you've added a link, it'll appear in the Edit Existing Links area, and you can just edit right there, or you can check the Delete checkbox and then click Save Changes to delete it. Yeah, so you can just edit it right from there and add new links as desired. Now here's the thing, is that if you, let's say that you have a site that uses the word hello a whole lot, well, you're going to get a lot of links to this Hello World post. That could be a problem. So we can rein things in with the Content Links Settings tab. You can customize which post types have autolinks added to them. So if you have custom post types that you would rather not be touched by the autolinking functionality, then you can disable them under this section. You can decide whether posts can link to themselves or to the URL that the visitor is currently on. You can also enable quantity restrictions for your links. This helps ensure that there is a sane amount of autolinking going on. So you can decide how many autolinks are added per post. You can choose how many times the same anchor text is linked per post. And you can choose how many times the same URL is linked to per post. The Content Link Settings tab also includes a siloing feature. You can set it so that posts can only link to other posts or other post types that are in the same category or tag. Now, silos are semi-independent topical sections of your site. And so if you want to keep those topical areas of your site rather isolated from each other and not linking to each other, then this is exactly what you need. So if you were to check these options, for example, then posts in category A could only link to other posts if they were in category A2, but not if they were in category B. So this is for keeping the autolinks confined within silos if you are using taxonomies to set up a silo architecture on your site. If you have custom taxonomies on your site, then they will appear as checkboxes here as well. In addition to content links, Deep Link Juggernaut also supports footer links. Now, content linking works by searching for a given phrase in your site's content and replacing it with an autolink. Now, footer linking does not involve any finding and replacing. It just adds the anchor text you specify straight into your footer. So, let's say that I have another post I want to link to. Let's see, I have a picture post that I've added here as an example. Picture of trees. So let's say I want to add a link with the anchor text of trees to my footer. And then I can set the title attribute and the nofollow and new window checkboxes just like before on the Content Links tab. Now you'll notice that there is a new section on the Footer Links tab that is not present on the Content Links function. This is the link location box. Let's say that I want to only add this footer link to posts that are in the uncategorized category, just as an example. So what I'll do is I'll type in the first few letters of uncategorized here and click that, and that'll fill in this box with the uncategorized category. Now if I just do this, then what Deep Link Juggernaut will do is it'll add a link to the picture of trees post with the trees anchor text to the category archive for uncategorized. Now if I want to also add this footer link to all the posts that are in this category, then I also need to check the Match Child Content box. The negative match box basically says do the opposite of what I've said here. So if I want to link to everything except for the posts in uncategorized, then I check negative match. And so then the posts that are in uncategorized will not have this footer link, but everything else will. So just like the content links section, I can just click Save Changes, and then it'll add it to the Edit Existing Links section where I can edit it as desired, or delete it if I want to. Now the footer link settings tab includes the HTML formats that you can customize. This is if you want to customize the way that the footer links are outputted at the bottom of your site. Next we'll go to the File Editor module. The File Editor module lets you edit two files that are important for SEO, the htaccess file and the robots.txt file. Now as you can see, File Editor will let you know if you are using the default permalink structure, because having such a structure will mean that your robots.txt file is not accessible. So if you were to change that, then this notice would go away and your robots.txt file would start working again. Once you type or paste in the code to robots.txt that you want, then you can check this checkbox to enable this custom robots file here and disable the default file. So if you ever wanted to just disable your customizations but not actually delete them, you can just leave them in this box and uncheck the Enable the Custom File box. Now some plugins will want to add rules to the robots.txt file, and so you can decide whether or not they should be allowed to add those things to your custom file. And the htaccess box lets you edit the htaccess file directly. And, pay attention to the warning here that editing your htaccess file incorrectly could disable your entire site. So, don't make changes here unless you know what you're doing. The Link Mask Generator module lets you generate link aliases for various URLs on your site. Let's say that you have like a big ugly affiliate link and you put it in this box, the actual URL box, and then you type something into the alias URL box like, let's say Amazon, since we're using Amazon as an example here. Nothing against Amazon affiliate links. I'm not saying that they're uglier than any other affiliate link. Then you click Save Changes, and then any instance of this link on your site will automatically be rewritten so that it goes through a Go directory followed by whatever you put in here. So let's say that your site is example.com. So then whenever you link to this URL in one of your posts, then it's changed to example.com/go/Amazon. Now you can also customize whether this happens on a particular post or not. So if I only wanted this to happen on the Hello World post, then I could just type it in here and select it from the list. But if I wanted this link mask to apply to my entire site, then I would just leave that blank. This is great for affiliate marketers because it lets you prettify, or make prettier, these affiliate URLs that you might be using on your site. Now the SEO benefit to doing this is that Link Mask Generator adds rules to your robots.txt file that will mask that is to say, prevent search engines from crawling your Go directory. So in a way, you're blocking link juice flow, that is, the ranking benefit conferred by links. You are blocking that from going to your affiliate links. So, and you can also edit the Go directory from here. So if you want to type in something else like, let's say, redirect or out, then you could do that under the Settings tab. Next we'll go to the Meta Descriptions module. The Meta Description Editor lets you customize the meta descriptions for all the content on your site. The meta description is the text that appears underneath the title of the web page when it appears in a search engine result. So that is, underneath the blue title text of the search engine result is the black text, and that's the meta description. Now, meta descriptions will not help you rank for a given term, but if you have a well-written description, it will increase the likelihood that someone will click through to your site once you already have a ranking for a given term. So this won't help you rank, but, you know, a ranking won't do you any good if no one actually clicks on your site. And so, meta descriptions are important for SEO for that reason. The Default Formats tab lets you auto-generate meta descriptions for your posts, pages, categories, tags on your site. So by default, the post's meta description will be the excerpt if you've specified one. Now, note that the excerpt is what you type into the excerpt box on the post editor. It does not mean that it'll auto-generate an excerpt, but you can do that as well. You just have to use the excerpt : auto-gen variable, and then click Save Changes. And once you use an auto-generated excerpt, then Meta Description Editor will use the first few lines of your post as meta description. Now, I would recommend not doing that. I would recommend actually writing a well-written meta description for each of your posts, because oftentimes an auto-generated meta description will actually be worse than not having one at all, because the first few sentences of your post, chances are, will probably not be that exciting. That is to say, chances are the first few sentences of the post will not encourage someone to click through, whereas if you write a custom meta description for that purpose, it'll be more likely to encourage click-through rates on your search engine results. So you can auto-generate excerpts if you want. That function is there, but by default, it'll only use a manually written excerpt from your posts. And for categories and tags, it'll use whatever you've put into the description field in the term editor screen of WordPress. And the pagination description format lets you tack on like page 2, page 3, page 4, etc. for cases like for category archives. If someone goes to page 2 of the category archive, then the pagination description format will ensure that page 2 is tagged on to the end of the meta description. That way you don't have duplicate meta descriptions on your site. The blog homepage tab lets you directly edit the meta description for the blog homepage. The blog homepage, of course, is the page that lists all of your latest blog posts. So if you have a front page, that is to say, a static page that you have set as the homepage for your WordPress-powered site, that is not the blog homepage. That will be found under the Pages tab, and you can edit its meta description just like you can edit the description of any page. We'll get to that in just a minute. The default value section here just lets you customize whether or not the tagline is used as a description in the event that you don't post anything in here. The Posts tab lets you directly edit the meta description of all the posts on your site. Now, most SEO plugins would require you to go into the post editor for every single post and edit the meta description in a field below the content editor of the WordPress post editing page. Now, SEO Ultimate does have fields on the post editor screen that let you edit the meta description as well as other important SEO fields, but SEO Ultimate is unique in that it also has this mass editor, a bulk editor that lets you do all your meta descriptions all at once, which is a real time saver if you have hundreds of old posts and you'd like to write meta descriptions for each one. So just click in this field and it'll expand so that you can type in your meta description as desired. Once you're done, then you just click Save Changes. If you have a whole bunch of posts, like hundreds of them, then they will be broken up into multiple pages to make things a little less crazy. So, the same thing applies for the Pages tab. You can edit all of your pages. Right now there's just one page on the sample site. You can edit all your attachments. So, see, I've uploaded a picture of trees, and so you can edit the meta description for that attachment. Same with categories, tags. Now, on the sample site, I don't have any tags, so hence the notice here. Post format archives, same thing. And if you have any custom post types or custom taxonomies, then SEO Ultimate will automatically add tabs for those onto the meta description editor. Once you're done, just click Save Changes. Next, we'll go to the Meta Robot Tags Editor module. Now, the first tab is the Site-Wide Values tab. This lets you set things that are applied to all the pages on your site. So, the Spider Instructions section on the Site-Wide Values tab gives you 3 options to instruct spiders the way that you want your site to be handled in 3 different instances. So you can stop spiders from using the Open Directory description in your search results, or the Yahoo directory description. You see, instead of using your meta description, which of course we just looked at, some search engines will use your site's listing. If your site is listed in the Open Directory or the Yahoo directory, some search engines will use that listing description in lieu of your meta description. So if you've worked hard on your meta descriptions and you want those to be used, then you should check off these 2 checkboxes so that they are used instead of your directory listing description being used. If you would like, you could also stop search engines from caching or archiving your site. The Default Values tab lets you prevent indexing of various types of pages on your site. For example, if you check off the subpages of the homepage box, then SEO Ultimate will tell search engines not to index the page 2 and page 3 and page 4 of your homepage, and so on and so forth. And same with like date-based archives. If you check that, then SEO Ultimate will ask that search engines not archive all the month and year and day archives of your site. Now, you may be wondering, why would I tell search engines not to index given pages on my site? Well, let's take as an example the date-based archives. For every year and for every month and every day that you've ever posted something, WordPress generates an archive page that lists the posts that you've posted on that day or in that month or during that year. The thing is, you can be pretty sure that no one is going to actually be wanting to come across the archive page that lists what you posted on August 13th, 2012, for example. No, what you want them to find in search results is the actual post that you posted on that day, not just a page that lists what you posted on that day, but actually what you posted. So in that case, you know that whenever someone is searching for a phrase that might cause your date-based archives to appear in search results, there's always going to be something more relevant that you'd prefer them to find instead. So you can safely de-index your date-based archives by checking this box and clicking Save Changes. Now, for all the other options on this list, you can click the Help tab, and that'll pull down documentation that'll explain all the rest of these, as well as provide recommendations on when it's recommended that you enable these. Some of them are recommended to be checked off in all cases, and some only in certain cases. The Posts tab lets you customize the no-index and no-follow attributes for all of the posts on your site. Again, this is a mass editor like we had for the Meta Description Editor module. So if you check no-index for a given post, that'll ask search engines to not include that post in their index. If you check off no-follow, then that will ask search engines not to spider links that are on that post. Most of the time, you will want search engines to spider all the links on a post, so most of the time you will not want to check the no-follow box. But there may be cases where you would want to check the no-index box. For example, if you have a Contact Us form, well, you may or may not want that appearing in search results. So if you have that under the Pages tab, for example, like a contact page, you could check off no index, and that would be removed from search engine indices. Again, you can also do this for attachments and categories and tags and post format archives. Now, the categories section doesn't have checkboxes. It has a use default option, which means it'll use whatever you check here. See, you can globally de-index or index category archives. And so you can just use a default, or you can override whatever default you set for each individual category. Next, we'll go to one of the newest and most powerful modules of SEO Ultimate, the Open Graph Integrator. Most of the modules that we've looked at so far deal with traditional SEO. That is, search engines like Google, Yahoo, Bing, that sort of thing. But Open Graph Integrator deals with what some people call social SEO. That is, optimizing your site for social networks like Facebook and Twitter. So Open Graph Integrator lets you customize what information is conveyed to these social networks. Now, those social networks use this information to decide, for example, how your site is displayed when people share it on those networks. So in the age of social media, Open Graph data is an important thing to include on your site. So again, there are site-wide values, defaults, and blog homepage, post pages, media. It's the same kind of arrangement that the last couple modules have had. So you can customize the site name. By default, it uses the site name that you specified when you first set up your blog. So, for example, my WordPress blog, as you can see, is the name of this blog. So, by default, Open Graph Integrator will use that, but you can type in something else, like my blog nickname, into that box, and it'll use that instead. If you want to integrate your site with a Facebook app that you have, then you can type in the ID here, and it'll add the necessary code. If your site has a Twitter account where, for example, you post all the latest content that you have on your site, then you can put the handle like @example, and then it'll add the code for that handle to all the pages on your site. The Default Values tab lets you customize the defaults for cases where the value is not otherwise specified on these tabs here. So the Default Values tab lets you customize the content types for each of the post types on your site. So there are two different types of types. I know this is complicated, but each post type can have two types of types. So there's the Open Graph type. Now this is what Facebook uses primarily. Then there's the Twitter type that Twitter looks at. So for the post type, the default is that we're telling Facebook is that posts are going to be articles. And between regular and photo, well, your posts are probably going to be regular, unless you have a photo blog, in which case you might want to pick photo. But generally, these are not photos, and so you're going to tell Twitter that these are just regular. And same with pages. Generally, those are going to be articles. At least from this list, articles is the one that best fits pages. And now for media, the default Open Graph type is none because Facebook doesn't really give us an Open Graph type that works really well for media attachments. Now, there is video, but chances are almost all of your attachments are going to be pictures, and there isn't really a picture type here, so the default is none, but Twitter gives us one, photo. So that's why that's set there. Open Graph lets you specify an image for all of the pages on your site. Now, this image would appear next to your site if someone were to share it on Facebook or Twitter. You know, if you use Facebook or Twitter, then you've probably often seen links that people share that they always have an image next to them. Well, this lets you specify which image appears. Now, the default image lets you specify a fallback image in the event that you don't specify an Open Graph image for a given page on your site. So if you have like a company logo or something, then you can paste in the URL here, or you can type in the name of the image and it'll pull from your media library. So like the only image that I have on this example site is the trees picture. So I will just type in trees and then I can pick trees from the drop-down list and it'll fill in the box right there. And again, I can also paste in a regular URL if I want to. Now on the blog homepage tab, it lets you customize the title, description, and the image of the blog homepage. The Posts tab lets you customize, again, the type, title, description, and image for all the different posts on your site. Now you'll notice here that for the picture of trees post, you'll see that the image box is already filled in with featured image, the trees picture. This lets you know that you don't have to specify an image here if you don't want to, because Open Graph Integrator will automatically pull the featured image of any post on your site and use that as the Open Graph image. It does this all automatically, so if you've already specified featured images for all your posts, that's great because Open Graph will use those. And for media, you'll notice that of course there's no image field for attachments because Open Graph Integrator will just use the image itself as the Open Graph image. Next we'll go to the Settings Monitor. The Settings Monitor will just keep tabs on various settings of your site and let you know if there are any settings that you should change in order to make your site more SEO friendly. Now on a default installation of WordPress, WordPress uses query string permalinks, and so Settings Monitor will let you know that that's not good for SEO purposes. So it'll provide you a link where you can go to the exact spot on the WordPress interface that will let you change the setting in question. So in this case, it'll be better to use post name permalinks for SEO reasons because that'll put keywords into your URLs. So then, if you go back to Settings Monitor, then you will see that it now shows everything's green and the bubble alert is gone too. Now we'll go to the title tag rewriter. Title tags, again, deal with traditional SEO, that is search engines like Google and Yahoo. So the title tag is used by search engines as the title of your site when it appears in search results. That is, if someone types in a keyword and your site appears, then the title tag will be the blue hyperlinked underlined text for your site. So the title tag rewriter lets you automatically generate title tags with formats for all of your content. For example, the post title format will pull in the post's name and then a pipe character and then the name of the blog as the default title tag. So that way you don't have to go and rewrite all of your title tags individually unless you want to. The Formats tab will just rewrite it all in one fell swoop. Now if you wanted to, for example, get rid of the blog portion, then it would just use the post title as the title tag. And when you click Save Changes, and it'll apply that to all of your posts unless you've overridden it for an individual post. This also lets you customize the blog homepage title, so you can rewrite that if you want to use something other than the name of your blog, which on this blog is called My WordPress Blog. The Settings tab gives you a couple options. The first option lets you decide whether lowercase category and tag names should be capitalized or have the first letter capitalized when they're used in title tags. So for example, if you on your site you have all of your tags in lowercase, it might look a little nicer if they were put in the title case if they're used in a title. And so this checkbox lets you do that automatically. The rewrite method lets you decide how the title tags are applied to your site. Now output buffering is what most WordPress SEO plugins use because there's no configuration required, but it is a little slower. So if you're worried about speed, you can do the use filtering option. It's faster, but there is configuration required. So you just have to click the Help tab and then click the Settings tab link over here, and then it'll give you instructions on how to set it up if you want to use the use filtering option. Then the Post tab lets you customize a title tag for each post on your site, including all your drafts and any trashed or scheduled posts. It's all there, so you can just rewrite your title tags really quickly. Same with pages, attachments, just like before. The White Papers module pulls in articles from the blog of SEO Design Solutions, which is the company behind the SEO Ultimate plugin. So if you'd like to, you can go to this module and click on an article to open it in a new window and read it. The Miscellaneous page includes the options for up to 9 modules. Now these modules are modules that don't have enough settings to warrant their own admin pages, so they're all put into this Miscellaneous section just to save room on the SEO menu. The author highlighter lets you insert a picture of the author of your posts next to your posts when they appear in Google search results. If you're a frequent Google user, you've probably seen this before, Well, the author highlighter lets you insert the code needed to do that on your site as well. So, under author highlighting, it tells us that in order for this to work, the users need to add their Google Plus account URLs to their profile pages. So you can click on this link here to go to your profile, and you'll notice under the contact info section that SEO Ultimate has added a Twitter handle box and a Google Plus profile URL box. The Twitter handle box is used for the Open Graph Integrator module. The Google Plus profile URL box is used for the author highlighter module that we were looking at. So you can just paste in your Google Plus profile URL, then click Update Profile, and then once you do that, then if you have just one author on your site, then author highlighter will just tell you everything's okay and it's using that Google Plus profile URL. If you have multiple authors on your site, then it'll give you some options to let you customize in what cases which author is used for what sections of your site. The Canonicalizer module helps you deal with duplicate content issues on your site. The first two checkboxes are recommended to be enabled. These send instructions to search engines that tell it the preferred URL for each content item on your site. Oftentimes, there are multiple ways that a post or page or category on your site could be accessed, multiple URLs by which it could be accessed, that is. So the canonical tags tell Google which URL is the preferred one so that you don't have ranking potential split between multiple URLs. Now, if your site is accessible with both the HTTP and HTTPS URL scheme, then you're going to want to specify which one is preferred so that, again, your ranking potential is not split between the two different identical versions of your site that are accessible at those different URLs, the HTTP URL and the HTTPS URL. So, you can say make all canonical URLs begin with HTTP or HTTPS. Again, if your site is one of those that can be accessed with either one. The Automated 301 Redirects section lets you redirect requests for non-existent pagination. Let's say that you have a category that has 100 posts in it. And so that category has page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, all the way up to page 10. Then let's say that you restructure your site and now that category only has 50 posts in it. Well, now it's only going to go up to page 5. But chances are Google knows about the page 6 and page 7 up to page 10 URLs. And so if it tries to go back, WordPress will give it a 404 error. If you check this box, then instead of giving a 404 error, SEO Ultimate will tell WordPress to redirect that request back to page 1. So this is just a little thing that will help reduce the number of 404 errors on your site and help lost search engine robots get back to what they're looking for. The link box inserter lets you insert a box at the bottom of your posts and or pages that says link to this post and provides a little box that includes the code needed to link to your post. So if you've seen this before on websites, this lets you implement this on yours as well. It's just a little thing that can make it easier for visitors to link to your post, and so it can encourage natural link building activity. The More Link Customizer is another little thing that you can implement on your site. Some sites will have posts that have a Read More link on them that visitors have to click on. If they're reading the post on the home page, then they have to click the Read More link to view the rest of it. Well, the problem with the Read More link is that Read More isn't a very keyword-rich phrase. So the More Link Customizer lets you change the anchor text of that link to something a little more keyword-rich. The Permalink Tweaker lets you remove the URL bases of categories, tags, and post format archives, and any custom taxonomies that you have on your site. It gives you an example of the before and after of what this change will accomplish. So by default, WordPress includes the word category in all category URLs and includes the word tag in tag URLs, and so on for your other taxonomies. If you were to check this checkbox for categories, then SEO Ultimate would take out the word category and just have it be your site / category name, like example. This is useful for, again, sites that are setting up a silo architecture. So if you have your permalinks set up so that you have the post URL include the category, then you can use that in conjunction with Permalink Tweaker to make it look like that your post URLs are in a directory of the category. So it lets you create a nice hierarchical structure for a siloed site. Now, for example, if you have a page called example and you enable this, then you could create a conflict if you have a category and a page with the same name. So the URL conflict resolution dropdown lets you specify which one gets the URL in case of a conflict. The sharing facilitator lets you add sharing buttons to the bottom of your post. It gives you two options, share this and add this buttons. So you can enable one and see how you like it, and if you don't like it, you can try the other one. It helps you by giving your visitors an easy way to share your posts and build links to them ultimately. The slug optimizer will remove common words from your post URLs because those common words really don't have any keyword value. And so it can help reduce fluff from your post URLs and give your important words more weight. Now this box here lets you customize the list of common words that are removed, because we know that, of course, not everyone speaks English, and so you should be able to customize this list. And so if you have a list of common words in your language, you can replace all these English words with the words from your language, and then Slug Optimizer will remove those if it finds them. The Webmaster Verification Assistant module, down here at the bottom of the miscellaneous page, lets you generate the meta tags needed to verify that you own a site. So if you go to Google Webmaster Tools or Bing Webmaster Center and you enter in the URL of your site, then those webmaster portals are going to want to verify that you own your site. One of the options that they will give you is to enter a meta tag into your site's code. And so the Webmaster Verification Assistant makes it very easy to do that. All you have to do is look at the code that Google or Bing gives you, and then just fill in the blanks here to make it look like the code they gave you, and then click Save Changes. So that's it for the miscellaneous module. Now we just have to go back and look at the modules that are disabled by default. Since they were disabled, they didn't appear on the SEO menu. So we'll enable the Meta Keywords Editor and the NoFollow Manager and click Save Changes. Once we do that, then they will appear on the SEO menu, and we'll start with the Meta Keywords Editor. Now the Meta Keywords Editor is disabled by default because meta keywords were very important for SEO 20 years ago, but not really today. But we know that if we did not have a meta keywords editor in the SEO Ultimate plugin, then we'd get lots of requests for one. So we have included it, but disabled it by default. So if you do want it, then it is there. You can type in site-wide keywords, which are keywords that are applied to every page of your site. You can set default values, so you can use categories, tags, and post format archives as keywords for your posts. You can also use commonly used words for your posts. Now, you may be thinking, well, my posts' most commonly used words are probably filler words like the word the, for example. However, Meta Keywords Editor takes care of this. Actually, Meta Keywords Editor will use the list of commonly used words in the slug optimizer that we just looked at on the miscellaneous page. It'll use that list to filter out those words from your keywords that it generates. You can also customize keywords for each individual post and page and all the other content items on your site. Now the NoFollow Manager module is located back on the miscellaneous page, so we'll go back there to look at that. The NoFollow Manager lets you add the nofollow attribute to all these different classes of links on your site. Now, the reason the nofollow manager is disabled by default is because in 2008, Google changed the way that it interprets the nofollow attribute, so that in most cases, using nofollow will actually hurt your site more than help it. That is why the nofollow manager is disabled. But if you really want to use it for some reason, then you can enable it on the module manager and then go to the miscellaneous page and check off the classes of links you would like nofollowed. The next module that we're going to look at is actually not located on the SEO menu. We're going to look at the SEO Ultimate Widgets module. Now, as you might guess, all the stuff that it does is on your widgets page, which is under Appearance Widgets. Now, the two widgets that SEO Ultimate adds are the Footer Links widget and the Siloed Categories widget. Siloed Categories is useful in cases where you're trying to, again, do a siloed site architecture, because when you have a siloed site architecture, you generally don't want the silos linking to each other. And so, what this will do is it'll display your list of categories on your home page, but then if you're actually within a category, that is, within a silo, then it'll display the child categories and or the posts in that category. So that way your site navigation isn't linking outside of your silos if you have such an architecture. Now, you don't have to use categories. As you can see, once you've added the widget, you can specify any of your other taxonomies from the drop-down, including any custom taxonomies that your site may have. The Footer Links widget is part of the Deep Link Juggernaut Footer Links functionality. So by default, Deep Link Juggernaut will just put out your footer links into the footer of your site, but if you have a widgetized footer or even sidebar where you would like those footer links to appear instead, then all you have to do is add the Footer Links widget to that widget area, and then Deep Link Juggernaut will detect that the Footer Links widget has been added and output the footer links into that widget instead of in the footer area like it normally does. So you can decide whether to use the HTML formats that we looked at earlier on the Footer Link Settings tab of Deep Link Juggernaut, or you can just ignore those HTML formats and just display them as a list, which is the default option. The next module we're going to look at is located on the Settings menu. This is the Plugin Settings module, and it's under Settings, SEO Ultimate. The Global Settings tab of the Plugin Settings module gives you settings that kind of apply to the plugin as a whole and not really any particular module. You can decide whether or not the plugin should identify the HTML code that it inserts with comments that identify it as being outputted by SEO Ultimate. It is useful for determining whether a given meta tag, for example, is being outputted by SEO Ultimate or whether it is being outputted by a theme or some other plugin. You can also decide to enable a nofollowed attribution link back to SEO Design Solutions on your site. So if you would like to add a link back to SEO Design Solutions as a thank you for the plugin, you can do that here. But again, it's totally optional and disabled by default. The Import tab lets you import an SEO Ultimate settings file or a Deep Link Juggernaut CSV file that is generated on the Export tab. The Import tab also lets you import your settings from all-in-one SEO pack if you've used that plugin in the past. The Export tab lets you generate a file containing your SEO Ultimate module settings. Then you can go back to the Import tab of even another site and import it. So you can use this to move your settings in between sites. Or if you have a whole bunch of sites and on one of your sites you have set things just the way you like it, then you can export all of those settings and then just import it onto all the rest of your sites to save yourself some time. You can also export a Deep Link Juggernaut CSV file. This lets you edit your Deep Link Juggernaut content links in a spreadsheet. So you can download the CSV file, open it in a spreadsheet program like Excel, and edit all of your links in the spreadsheet program, and then you can re-upload it on the Import tab. If you have a whole lot of auto links, that can be a great way to manage them all, if you want. The Reset tab lets you restore everything back to your factory default settings. So if you've totally made a mess of things somehow and you just want to put everything back to the way it was, you can go to the Reset tab and click here. Although, of course, if you have any settings that you care about, then of course you're not going to want to click this because it'll overwrite them all. And again, this only applies to SEO Ultimate settings, not the settings for any other plugin. The Upgrade tab lets you upgrade to a newer version of SEO Ultimate. If there is a newer version, or newer versions, plural, then it'll display a list on the Upgrade tab and you can pick which one you want to upgrade to. Now the Downgrade tab is similar, but it works in reverse. This will display all the older versions of SEO Ultimate, and you can even go back to an older version if you want. There are lots and lots of older versions, and it'll let you go all the way back to version 5.0. At least this version of SEO Ultimate lets you go back to version 5.0. So, in the event that you were to make an upgrade of SEO Ultimate and there was some kind of bug in the newer version that was giving you problems, you can go to the Downgrade tab under Settings SEO Ultimate and go back to the version that was working for you before. Now, as this notice says, this is just for convenience sake and it's not really officially supported, meaning that it could cause problems. We don't actually test this for every version, whether or not the downgrade is going to work correctly, but it should work. And if, see here how it won't let you downgrade past version 5.0, that's because we know that if you downgrade past version 5.0, then it will for sure cause problems. But you should be able to downgrade without issue. The Reinstall tab lets you reinstall whatever version of SEO Ultimate that you're currently using. And the Uninstall tab lets you delete SEO Ultimate and delete all of your settings. If you were to delete SEO Ultimate from the plugins page of WordPress, your settings would still be there. If you want to get rid of all those settings from your database, you have to go to the Uninstall tab and click this button. Next, we're going to look at the SEO settings box that SEO Ultimate adds to the post editor screen. So, we'll add a new post. And then below the content area, you will see an SEO settings box with several tabs on it. The search engine listing tab lets you edit the title tag and the meta description. That is, this lets you customize how your site would appear if it appears on a search engine results page. And the social networks listing tab will let you customize your open graph data. So the title, description, image, the open graph type, the Twitter type, you can do that all from here. The Links tab gives you several options. The Inbound Autolink Anchors box is part of Deep Link Juggernaut. Now, this gives you a really quick way to add an autolink to any post on your site. So let's say that this post is going to be all about widgets, and I want to autolink the phrase widget to this post. Then, if I add this here, then when I click Publish, then SEO Ultimate will go and find all instances of the word widget and link it to this post. So it lets you instantly create auto links when you publish a post. Now don't worry, if your post is a draft or if it's scheduled, then SEO Ultimate is not going to link the phrase widget back to this post. SEO Ultimate will only apply the auto links here when the post is published. So you can go ahead and add auto link anchors here even while you're working on the post. If you would like to prevent Deep Link Juggernaut from adding auto links to other posts in this post's content, you can check this checkbox to disable that behavior. The More Link Customizer module adds this box here that lets you further customize the anchor text of the More link, the Read More link, if you don't want to use whatever default you specified on the Miscellaneous page. The Miscellaneous tab of the SEO settings box lets you customize the meta keywords and the meta robots tag of this particular post. Now, if you were paying attention, you may notice that I didn't do the search result type box of the search engine listing tab. This box is added by the Rich Snippet Creator module. The Rich Snippet Creator module does not have an admin page. All it does is add something to the SEO settings box, but what it does add is pretty cool. You'll see that this drop-down has three options: Standard, Review, and Place. Standard is just a standard search engine result that you would see in Google. Now, if you're a Google Power user and you've searched for, say, reviews before, you may have noticed that sometimes Google will have search engine results that have like a set of stars beneath them that show how well the post reviewed the item in question. Rich Snippet Creator will let you generate the code needed to have your site look like that in search results. So all you have to do is pick Review from this list, and then all these new fields will appear. You type in the name of the item that you're reviewing. You can type in a URL to an image of this item, or you can type in, again, the name of an attachment on your site and just pick it. So if I were reviewing trees, not that trees could actually be reviewed, then I could put the image here, and then that would add it to the rich snippet data for this post. And I can also give it a star rating. And also, the place option gives you all kinds of settings here. You can type in the address data. You can type in a URL to the map page, or let's say that I have a map to this particular place on my About page, then I can just type in About, and then click that and it'll fill it in right there. Then you can type in the phone number, the fax number, and a photo. And again, for photo, you can type in the name of an attachment on your site and select it from the autocomplete drop-down. Now, for this rich snippet data, it would be best if you type in the data as it is found in your post content. So let's say that you're writing a post about like a particular place, and so you select the place drop-down. Let's just make up an address for this place. For example, let's do 777 Main Street, Post Office Box number 123, City, Example Town, New York, USA, 12345. Now in the post content, I'm going to want to type it in like I have it here. 777 Main Street, P.O. Box 123, Example Town, New York, USA, 12345. Then what SEO Ultimate will do is it will scan your post content for whatever you type into these boxes, and then it'll add rich snippet code to your post content to tell Google that this is an address, or to tell other search engines as well that this is an address. Now, if you were not to include this data in your post content, then that's okay, because SEO Ultimate would just add some hidden code to your post that includes all of this address data. But Google and other search engines would prefer if you actually include the place or review data in your post content, rather than having hidden code be generated for that data. And I believe now that we've covered the SEO settings box, that is the conclusion of this tutorial. Thank you for listening, and enjoy using SEO Ultimate on your WordPress-powered website.